The views and opinions expressed on Beautiful Disasters are those of the panelists and not those of the Geeks Under the Influence Network, their sponsors, or anyone else involved. Also, there is going to be a lot of adult language used on this podcast, so please keep your little kitties away.
Welcome back to Beautiful Disasters. This is a new segment, mini episode, that we're going to call a Die for Dead Formats. The basic concept is that we are going to be watching, we have a short list of movies that we're going to be watching on outdated formats. Nothing has been released on any kind of modern DVD, Blu-ray, anything like that. So far, I have a list of 10 titles that are between VHS and Laserdisc. And we're going to roll a die, a D10, and figure out what we're going to watch. This is the Grutz, and my guest for this mini-episode series is going to be my brother from another mother, Jesse.
Jesse Jones.
How you doing, man? We've known each other for a million years.
Yeah, 30 years, actually.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Goddamn,
30 years exactly.
We're old.
Yep.
We met in India, of all places, in middle school.
Yep, 8th grade.
Yep. And something I was briefly talking about on the GUI episode that we did on Blockbuster days. When I was living overseas, I really didn't get a chance to see a lot of movies as they came out, or I didn't really have the rental store experience because we were moving around a lot. So when I got back to the States, and you were back in the States, I can't tell you how many movies we watched in your basement on VHS, right?
Yeah.
And anyway, so some of these titles could have very easily shown up there, but neither of us have seen most of these movies, or maybe any of these movies.
I still remember in high school when you started, when Laserdisc came out, and your family jumped on that craze.
Oh, hardcore, yeah. No, because we had been so transitory, yeah, we went nuts with Laserdisc and had all the titles, all the Indiana Jones and Star Wars and all kinds of stuff, and then of course DVD came out and Laserdisc tanked like hardcore. In any case, so I got this list of 10. Why don't we go ahead and roll a die and see what our first movie is going to be?
All right, here we go.
All right, we rolled a 7. And that is the Laserdisc release of Dead Men Don't Die. So we're going to watch that, and then we're going to talk about it. So we'll be right back. Okay. So our first movie was Dead Men Don't Die from 1990. Wowie. So I bought this kind of sight unseen because...
You sure did. Clearly.
Because this was the cover of the movie, the Laserdisc, has a zombified Elliot Gould on the cover. And I was just like, well, he's funny as fuck. And he's been in all these cool ass flicks like The Long Goodbye and MASH and like all the Ocean's movies.
An established, respectable auteur. And no.
Yeah, this might have been a paycheck movie. So...
His performance was all right, I will say. He had a little bit of dialogue in the beginning, and then, he just got to act stupid and crazy for the rest of the movie.
Tell me about how much of a cake job that was for him. All he had to do
was make a few faces and some, physical comedy, and then some sounds.
He basically just got to be a goofball for most of the movie and a little bit of gray makeup. So... All right, so we've got the basic concept of the movie is Elliot Gould plays a guy named Barry Barron, who is like a hotshot TV newscaster. Yeah. His partner on the news is Dulcie, and she's played by Melissa Sue Anderson, who I thought was the blonde from the Chuck Norris, Louis Gossett Jr. movie, Firewalker, but it's not. She was in Happy Birthday to Me. Which is basically the only thing...
Wait, was she the main character?
Yeah.
She was so young back then.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Yeah, that movie's better than this one.
Yeah, I wish we watched that movie instead. But
then we have, I didn't really write down all the cast, but the major few are Mabel King from What's Happening, Mama from What's Happening, plays a character called Chafuka. And she is like the building's cleaning lady, but she's also the biggest
she's like
voodoo practitioner stereotype.
Yeah. No, it's a mixture of sort of like early slavery era Christian spiritualism and and voodoo. They just mash it all up, no explanation necessary.
No.
Total stereotype. It was 1990, so
yeah,
I guess they could get away with that kind of thing, but it's pretty racist.
It was pretty. I mean, her character opens up and she's like cleaning in an elevator lobby and she's singing a spiritual. And we're just like, are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
Oh my god. And then we see Barry deliver a newscast, and then he's in the parking garage and sees some nefarious activity over by this van, and he goes to go check it out, and he ends up following this trio of hoodlums. The only one that I recognized, his character's name is Mungo.
Yeah.
And he's played by Richard Dreier, who was the gang leader in Savage Streets, which is a fucking awesome movie with Linda Blair. Anyway, he follows these guys up to a room on one of the floors of this building that his station's in. And
it's the station building.
Yeah, the station building. So one of these offices on one of the floors is, there's a bunch of boxes in there, and he finds out that, lo and behold, they're trafficking cocaine. And he gets caught in there because he can't hide for shit. And these guys, the dumbest chase, he basically throws cocaine in the air like a cocaine smoke screen. Boom.
Yeah, cocaine that was in boxes that wasn't even in bags, apparently. It was just that was poorly sealed or something. Like, there was cocaine literally pouring out of these boxes.
Yeah. So there's this big old chase. It's goofy as fuck. I mean, you can almost hear the Benny Hill theme song, Yakety Sax, like half the time in this movie. And he gets caught back in the parking garage by his car, and these dudes just gun his ass down. And so he's dead on the hood of his car. And his partner, his co-anchor,
Dulcie,
pulls up, parks next to him, sees that he's dead on the hood of his car, and freaks out, and then goes and calls the cops and goes to get a camera because she's got a story now because he's dead.
Yeah, because they're competitive with each other, and she obviously wants to make it in news, but this is 1990, so women are basically eye candy and have no career opportunities.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the voodoo mammy janitor, Chafuka, finds him on the hood of his car, throws his corpse on top of her janitor cart, and rolls it into the maintenance room, and then opens up a secret passage behind lockers.
How did she have this built? And where? I have so many questions.
It's her voodoo room.
Just moves a set of sliding lockers, concealing a hidden door to her necromancy room.
Exactly. Voodoo priestess got to have a spot, right?
Yeah. That's not her house, apparently.
So she gets him back in there and starts performing a ritual to raise his ass from the dead. Meanwhile, his co-anchor, Dulcie, goes back. Body's gone.
Well, you skipped it. She called the cops, and the cops showed up, and so Keystone cops show up, bumbling.
Right.
There's the older, pissed off detective that just doesn't want to do his job.
Right.
And then the younger, bumbling detective who wants to prove himself. I could be a good detective. You're already a detective. I don't get it. You already made it to detective.
Yeah, he's a moron. I've seen him in other TV work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I know his face, but I can't believe his character actually fucking survived the movie.
Yeah.
In any case, body's gone, so the cops are annoyed. Dulcie doesn't know what's going on. And holy shit.
Yep.
And okay, so recently zombified Elliot Gould is just silly as he had so much fun making this movie. So Chafuka decides that she's got to clean him up because he's all bloody and he's got like gunshot holes all over him. So she puts him on his motorcycle trike.
Yeah, where does she get a motorcycle? Where does she get a motorized tricycle?
Yeah, that's what she rides. takes him back to her place. He's got like zombie bath time as she cleans him up, and then she takes him back to the station so that he can like go to work. And he's like,
he's got a hole in his head, so she puts some gum in the hole and then puts a Band-Aid over it.
Yeah.
And everybody's trying to pick at the Band-Aid for some reason. It's like it's fucking Band-Aid.
Yeah. And yeah, he's...
There's no good writing in this movie.
It's ridiculous. Anyway, she then claims to be his manager. And of course, he's standing like a zombie. Everyone's like, what are you doing? What's wrong? Are you feeling ill? And she just says, Mr. Barry has the miseries right now.
Miseries, yes.
I'm like, oh my God. So she figures out that she can speak into like a voodoo doll to make him speak. So she's basically like miming for him. And she's doing it from a back room. So she's reading his copy on the news, but fucking it up.
And but she's reading it, so Elliot Gould's zombie repeats everything she says in her accent.
Which is hilarious.
Which is hilarious and extremely like stereotyped.
This movie's pretty problematic. I mean, it came out in '90. I'm sure it was probably shot a few years earlier. But it is definitely of its time.
It definitely seemed like a 1980s film that just was released a lot later.
Yeah, and it's silly news lines. At one point,
she reads all of the lines.
Both sides.
Instead of just his lines and then letting her say her lines. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a learning curve. But
there's comedy in here somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't know hookers had a convention.
I didn't know.
That was a line. Oh my goodness.
Hookers pull each other's hair at a hooker convention. What?
So suffice to say, the Hoods, who were celebrating at a bar that they had successfully murdered this dude that almost compromised their operation, then see him on the TV reporting the news, and they're like, what the fuck? And these guys are just as bumbling as anybody else in this movie. So they go back to the station after the news report to gun him down a second time. And, we don't have to go through everything, but it's absurd. He gets gunned down again. The cop sees it, reports it. Then his body's gone again because Chafuka goes to clean him up again, I guess. And there's just this back and forth of like, we got him this time. No, we didn't.
Yep.
They end up sending one of the guys to finish a job a third time. And he ends up like basically getting hugged by the zombie and shoots himself.
Yep.
So Carlos, and then Chafuka decides, oh shit, I better make him a zombie too.
Yep.
And then it just keeps going. The next goon comes out, gets killed, gets zombified as well.
Jeez.
Oh my God. And it gets down to basically it's after everyone's gone except for the reporters and then Zombie Barry and the one bumbling young detective. And there's just this back and forth chase sequence where the last remaining Hood of the three, Mungo, is trying to like hunt them down.
It was like kind of like a Scooby-Doo kind of thing.
Yeah,
like,
it was.
Do. And
they end up back in the coke room.
Yeah.
And he's gonna. The cop and Dulcie, are basically gonna get killed.
What we assume is the ringleader of the group, this older guy who wasn't with them initially. He shows up.
Right.
And because they had called him a little earlier, he shows up and he sees like the two dudes zombified.
Yep.
They had taken out Mungo. They had knocked Mungo out, I think is what happened.
Right, yeah.
And then, so he's there, and they end up getting into this big melee, and then the cop and the reporter, they get away, and Mungo ends up getting electrocuted.
Yeah, to a new wave song.
Well, it turns into a new wave song.
Yeah.
That's the comedy. That's the physical comedy. And I gotta say that the direction of this movie, like the director didn't know how to do physical comedy.
Yeah.
Didn't know how to do, the timing was awful. The performances had
and he
no
wrote
comedic
it.
time.
And he wrote it,
right?
And the movie's so stupid.
And he wrote a lot of stuff. He's not a good director, and he's not a good writer, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, what's his name? His name is director's name is Malcolm Marmerstein, and the only other movie that he directed was Love Bites with Adam Ant.
Yeah, and that's all you really need to know about that.
Yeah, and apparently he wrote a bunch of seasons of Dark Shadows.
Yeah,
and he's got little writing credits all over the place, but
he's done some big movies as well, and. Man, this was not one of his shining moments.
So at this point, Chifuka has herself a zombie horde because she is animated.
Mungo, Carlos, the other guy from, I don't know, was he in
all the hoods and of course Barry.
Yeah,
and they've finally got the story because all this shit has been going down. They found the coke. And Dulcie goes to the station owner. Yeah. The guy who runs the network. And it's basically like, hey, I got this story. Lo and behold, he's the actual kingpin. Yeah. And she's like, what are you doing? It was like, well, coke's a good business, Yeah. High yield returns. Yeah.
See,
oh my God.
It's the early 90s.
And this station owner guy has had this blonde bimbo kind of on his coattails the whole movie, and the best line of the whole movie comes up
fantastic
when it turns out that he's the fucking villain. He's got the gun. She says,
she says, how is this going to affect my career? And after a pause, he leans down and he kisses her lightly on the lips and says, adversely. It was the best line in the whole movie, especially contrasted with the absolute terrible comedic writing of the rest of the movie. It was actually a genuinely funny line.
It was, yeah. And then the party gets crashed, and it ends up that they end up in this car chase sequence where you've got Barry driving his convertible red Mercedes, and you've got
Chifalka was in the car with him, and the three zombies,
and then Dulcie and the bumbling cop got taken hostage. They're in the rich dude's limousine, and this was actually probably the best shot action sequence of the whole movie. And
especially the fact that the whole movie takes place in this boring office environment.
Right.
And scene after scene, and then you get this action sequence that's in sunlight. And it's outdoors, and it was refreshing.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. And it was fun. And during this whole sequence, they were playing Dead Man's Party by Oingo Boingo.
Yeah.
And so really,
the score was interesting. I mean, it was typical 90s fare, but people signed on to this movie.
Yeah, dude.
They paid money to make this movie. It wasn't a low budget. I mean, not as low budget as you would expect for what you get, the results you get.
They intended this movie to be a comedy hit, maybe to compete with other stuff around the time. Obviously, not gonna happen.
I got to see what else came out in 1990 that they were trying to compete against because it didn't work.
No. This wasn't going to tap into any kind of Beetlejuice level stuff.
Although, at the time, though, people probably did think it was funny because they didn't know what the hell funny was.
Right, I guess. But anyway, this big sequence happens where the zombies are jumping between cars and they're rescuing the live people. And in the end, all the bad guys get zombified. The limo crashes. or limo crashes, Chifuka like animates the rest of them, the last two, and now she's keeping them all in a closet in that rich dude's office, and she's running the network.
She's the president of the network, and she's got the former station manager serving her drinks, and doing that kind of stuff, and keeping all of them inside this little closet. And Elliot Gould is still the anchor.
Yep.
Reading the news in her, I guess, Jamaican accent.
I guess.
I don't know. And the bumbling the bimbo, like she actually is doing all the traffic and weather, so she she actually has a career.
Yay!
Really stuck in the sexist stereotype there.
Yeah, the idiot detective quits.
Oh, he quits and vice president? Is that what he becomes?
Yeah,
vice president of the network.
Yeah,
because that's how all this works.
Yeah, because I don't really have to do that much.
Yeah, it's a perfect job for me because I don't have to know anything.
Oh my god. And yeah, that's pretty much the movie.
Yeah. It
definitely. Well, first of all, like.
Oh, the chase sequence. Oh yeah, you already mentioned it was Dead Man's Party, and at first I was like, this is kind of like they're trying to rip off of Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Right. Yeah.
The action chase sequence. Oh man.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say about this flick. It's not that memorable.
What I can say about this is that for me, it's always fun to kind of discover these rare, like odd bird movies that are just like, this got made? How the fuck? You know? But I mean,
it wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen.
No. It was fun. You could tell that everyone in the movie was having a blast making this movie. Like they were just having fun because it wasn't a serious picture. Elliot Gould maybe had 20 lines of dialogue, basically as like a non-zombified person.
All in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah. And the rest is him like going in a stupid
me.
Jamaican accent reading the news or just making silly faces. And he had to have had so much fun. It's got to be the lightest lifting for any role he's ever done.
Probably in a great mood because he got paid.
He
got paid, and
hell yeah,
he doesn't have to do much. He gets to be silly, make funny faces.
I can definitely understand why this movie would not have been a success and why nobody ever bothered to remaster it, onto DVD or Blu-ray. So
there's no distributor that's gonna put this out.
No, so this is just one of those little like lost to time things that if you don't have a VCR or a Laserdisc player, you're probably not going to see it.
I can't imagine this movie came out in theaters though.
It had to have. I mean, they put the money.
They were straight to VHS movies back then.
It could have been. I don't know.
And like it's kind of family friendly.
Yeah, I mean it was rated PG-13.
It's PG-13. Yeah. I'm surprised it wasn't rated PG.
Yeah.
But because the violence was just silly, it wasn't any.
Yeah, it was like a Benny Hill episode.
Yeah, and it wasn't quite as bad as like a made-for-TV kind of thing, but
definitely a product of its era with all like the 80s sexism and like problematic or racist overtones.
Yes,
man.
Woo!
And I guess what we should do is let's roll that die one more time so we know what we're going to be watching next time.
We crossed 7 off the list, so
we're done. We're done with that.
Add a new movie to the list.
Yep.
Before the next one, I guess.
Yep.
Here we go. 0 or 10, I guess. 10.
So this is a movie called Waterhole Number 3. It's a cheesy western done by Blake Edwards.
Really?
Yeah, the Pink Panther guy.
Yeah.
And I think it has James Coburn in it.
Sweet.
So,
I'm excited for that more than I was for this.
Yes, and that is also on Laserdisc, and that will be our next episode. So, for now, thank you so much for listening. Check out all the other episodes of Beautiful Disasters. You can reach us on Facebook, Beautiful Disasters Podcast. Check out all the shows on the GUI Network. And, for Beautiful Disasters, this has been the Grutz.
Jesse Jones.
And thanks for listening.
Coming straight from the mouths of madness, I'm Lowdown.
I'm FU Hunter.
Do you love horror?
We fucking do.
So this is a podcast dedicated to all things in cinematic horror. We're talking movies, television, composers, special effects artists. We're gonna fucking cover it.
So if you love horror,
embrace the madness.
In a world ravaged by movie studios that keep rehashing the same things, only one podcaster has the guts to make it even worse. Join Mike the Hobbit as he traverses the internet to bring you some of the best and worst ideas for reboots, remakes, and reimaginings of some of your favorite and least favorite TV and film properties. Ideas like a John Waters He-Man movie, Fantastic Four the musical, and Aliens, done entirely with marionettes. What podcast would bring this evil upon the world? This is Smack My Pitch Up. Available anywhere you get your podcasts.
GUIPodcast.com.